Welcome back to Check the Pulse. Today, as usual, I'm grateful and honored to have a beast of a realtor on the podcast. And when I say beast, you're going to find out why. But Mr. Dorian Rodrigues is with me today. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And fun fact for you guys, I actually grew up pretty close with Dorian because I was close with his sister. So for me, it's kind of a full circle moment. So I'm definitely excited about this, hear where you're at, your journey. So introduce yourself to everyone a little bit.
Sure. I'm Dorian Rodrigues. I'm a real estate broker. I originally went to school for business. So I was taking finance, marketing. I was kind of doing everything. So I have a BCom.
Yeah.
And I decided in the third year that real estate kind of embodies everything.
Right.
So it has the marketing aspect, it has the finance aspect, but it also has the people aspect.
Right.
And that's something I've always enjoyed. I'm sure your mom and dad would agree with
Yeah,
the amount of times I would spend talking to them. So it was just something I really enjoy. I wanted to do and enjoy.
Yeah.
And then I just went full in because of a trainer, which I think you might actually know. Do you know Andrew Jones?
No, I don't.
So Andrew Jones was a Pure Effects. He was the owner.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So I've definitely met him then.
For sure.
100%.
So he essentially was like, my wife's in real estate.
Yeah.
You have to meet her. I think you'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I met her and I never looked back.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
crazy though.
Yeah.
That's crazy how even just that journey of that, right?
It was weird. Like, it's kind of weird timing, right?
Yeah.
Because you're in school and, you're just going to the gym. And obviously, Andrew and I were close.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful man. And, I learned a lot from him from an entrepreneurial business side.
Yeah.
But he always said, he's like, Dorian, you literally talk to every human being in this gym. I don't even think you come here to work out. And it was just something I just naturally had. Funny enough, I always got along with an older demographic.
Right, yeah.
More than my own age. But I guess in my career, it worked out quite well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I feel like that, we'll get to that, but that ties into even just the kind of real estate you do now for sure, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's backtrack a little bit because
Okay.
when I was around you, you were a hockey guy. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, this guy's, he's going, man. He's
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
So because I know for me, I actually spoke about this recently
Yep.
to like a group of high schoolers. When I played soccer, I tied myself to that. So I was like, I'm the soccer player. And like, that's where I wanted to go in life. Then you kind of hit a point where you're like, this may not happen. And you have to have that shift.
Yep.
Same thing, like I went to school for business, so on and so forth. But for you, like how did hockey play a pivotal role into kind of being who you are today?
Hockey was great because it allowed you to work with teams, work
Right.
with people.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was connecting with their parents as well.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate. Like, I know you know this. Both my cousins played high-level hockey.
Right.
OHL, one signed in the NHL. So I was able to see their journey.
Yeah.
And the truth is this, and I picked it up very young, and something I didn't want to admit when I was younger, but, they were scouted since they were 8, 9 years old.
Wow.
So they were obviously elite hockey players, and I saw their progression on, 16 years old, drafted to the OHL, then went to play in the OHL, had great careers.
Yeah.
That's something that I didn't have.
Right.
I did play the AAA, did play a couple of games junior, but it was nothing that was concrete, with nothing that was solid. So instead of me trying to battle it out for a spot in junior A or junior B or whatever it may be, the best next route is let's get a start on the career.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think when you hit a certain point, you kind of know if you're going to make it or
100%,
not.
yeah.
And you have to give up on the dream, so to speak, and just kind of move forward with what you're good at. And, fortunately, real estate kind of came second nature to me.
Yeah.
So it became something I was very comfortable with. And I just went with it and I kind of ran.
Yeah, that's amazing that you even realize that. Because I feel like a lot of people hold on to that dream for too long. It's not that it's too late by the time they realize it, but in some cases it is, right?
Yeah, it hurts you, right? Because the problem becomes you're so tied to something that may or may not ever happen.
True.
And you don't want to realize that when you're in your mid to late 20s.
Right.
Because then you have to restart school or you got to do whatever you got to do to get into your career. I just figured, if I wasn't scouted, wasn't going to the OHL, wasn't going to NCAA, I don't want to play junior A hockey for 4 years and then, figure it out. I kind of want to just get school done, do what I have to do career-wise, and the chips will fall into place.
For sure. Do you think there's any skills that you learned personally while being on a team? I think, did you captain a team?
Yeah, I captained pretty much like almost every team.
There you
I
go.
was
So
on.
like even just being a captain, that you now take those and apply them to your life now? in
Yeah,
real estate?
I think the two big things, well, probably three.
Yeah.
Leadership
For sure.
is something that's huge. Obviously, I run a team now. And also it allows me to communicate with my clients a certain way because realistically, every client's different.
Right.
Every client wants to hear different things, and not so much about what you're saying, but it's how you deliver it.
For sure.
And a captain's the same thing. Yeah. Some players, you have to be a little bit more delicate. Some players, they want to hear it blunt.
Yeah.
And that leads to my next point, which is transparency. Transparency is key. So I'm very blunt. Good or bad, I'm very blunt.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, you'd hope. So I'm very transparent, so it helps with my clients because I tell them the truth. I tell them not always what they want to hear, but what they have to hear.
Right.
And then work ethic. Like, if you want to be good, you have to work hard. And, a good story that I think you would enjoy was, I was trying out for a AAA team.
Yeah.
Really good team, amazing players on there. And, I went to their camp. I did well. The coach pulled me inside and listen, Dorian, you're a great player, but you're way too heavy. Wow. Very simple. Like,
just straight,
like right to my face, saying you're way too heavy. So he said, if you come back in end of August at training camp and you come back in shape, you're on the team. Wow. Came back 40 pounds lighter in one summer.
Wow.
So it just showed that I worked hard because that was the goal I really wanted to achieve, and I was not going to let anything stop me. So, working hard will get you where you need to be. And, Ryan Serhant, my idol, has the quote, work hard and do the work, and the work will take care of you. And that's kind of how I live my life. And that's kind of the mantra that really resonates with me.
And I think that shows a lot, even like obviously he's following you on Instagram and stuff. At the early stages of your real estate career, like you were very active on your stories and posting your grind, posting your hustle. And I remember thinking like, shit, like I could not do that. But that's why you are where you are today, right? So let's dive into real estate because I think the sport part was important because a lot of people, and even just people I know that watch this, are in sports or in that phase where they're on that dream, and do they keep going? When do they break off? So that's why I wanted to touch on that. Thank you for sharing all of that.
Oh, my pleasure.
And now let's dive into the real estate. So I think now, honestly, a lot of people want to become a real estate. And I can see you have different conversations with people. Some are chasing that paycheck because it's like big transactions at 2%. Some actually want to help people. So for you, like if someone's thinking about getting into real estate, what's something you would tell them to really keep in mind before diving into the industry?
Yeah, it's not all glamour, right? Like, yeah, you see these shows that glamorize everything, but the reality is it's a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, a lot of disappointment, right? People don't tell you that you're not just going to call a client, the client's going to be like, yeah, Dorian, let's go buy that house. Here's the deal. It's done. No, there's a lot of disappointment. Like, the reality is I go on a lot of listing appointments, right? And I don't get them all. So there's rejection. And, when I was earlier on in my career, that would really eat me alive because it would bother me. I'm not going to say I'm not used to rejection, but it's usually objection that I can overcome with regards to, like, if it's weight loss, I can go lose weight. If it's, work ethic, I can work harder. So there's always things you can overcome. But oftentimes, if they don't choose you, it's not necessarily because of anything related to you. Sometimes it's circumstances. So, if you're a realtor getting in the market, one, you have to be full-time. Don't even think about doing it part-time or else.
Like a side gig.
Yeah, you're doing your clients such a disservice, and you're also hurting the industry because people like me who do it full-time, we want to communicate and work with people that are full-time because they understand the market and they understand how to communicate.
Right.
So there's that. And then don't chase the paycheck. Like, yes, the paycheck is a byproduct of how hard you work, but realistically speaking, it's all about being out there, being active and working hard and doing the best for the client. And if you do the best for the client, ultimately you will make a good living.
For sure. And even now, like you do luxury real estate, right? When you started, did you know that you wanted that as your end goal, or that just kind of came with your progress being in real estate?
That's a good question. It wasn't a goal that I primarily looked at and said, this is what I want to do. But, I was fortunate enough where I was in a position where, I was able to intermingle with very wealthy people. So as soon as I started getting along with those clients and understanding that they have a lifestyle that I also live a very similar lifestyle. Now, they're living it to an extreme. But with that said, I really love that lifestyle. So if you want to live that lifestyle, you have to work with those individuals.
For sure.
And ultimately, luxury just felt right. But I don't focus. It's not so much a price point for me. It's about the service. Like when I walk into Loro Piana, right? It's my favorite clothing company. And they're a great example. They treat you incredible from start to finish, right? And whether I'm buying a card holder or I'm buying their beautiful jacket, it doesn't matter. And that's how it is with real estate. Whether you're buying a $1 million condo or a $15 million house, I'm going to help you the exact same.
Yeah.
And that's what I think true luxury is.
For sure. And I think that's something that not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I find that if people categorize themselves in like a higher category, like luxury, someone maybe landing on their page or profile may not feel like they'll be serviced the same if I come to you with a cheaper home, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do lose some business
Yeah.
because they think I only do a certain price point and up. And I guess that's just the cost
just
of
nature
doing
of the beast.
Yeah, it is. It is what it
Yeah.
is. But I'm happy to say that I do help as many people as I can at various price points. But I'm fortunate. I have a wonderful team. So if I know that I'm very, very busy, I have a wonderful team that can come help me do the day to day. But ultimately, I'm still client facing.
For sure.
I'm still doing the calls. I'm still doing the negotiating. I'm still doing all the stuff that the client wants to see. But they're helping me with like the open houses. If there's an odd showing I can't be at, they're there. So I do have a lot of support, and I'm very thankful for my team.
Yeah. And that's amazing too that you started building that as well. Let's just touch back to, so when you started real estate, how did you gain, I know you always had a knack to like connect with the older audience and like get them to trust you, but what are some things you did at the beginning that really helped differentiate you from other people? And I think one big thing, and this may not even be in your list, but I think your style, the way you always put yourself together shows a lot. Like you were always showing up, from what I saw, like dressed to the nines in situations where some people were dressed more casual, because you didn't have to be dressed that way, but you did it to kind of like, this is who I am, right?
Yeah, and I think style obviously plays a point. I think it's being there, being visible.
Yeah.
That's important. If you're not in that area, how are you going to meet people?
Sure.
It's very hard. But also finding a mentor. I think finding a mentor is a huge asset. And if you don't, you can still become extremely successful, but it's going to take a little bit longer. So I was lucky where I had two individuals that really mentored me extremely well. One really taught me the business and how to run a properly structured business. And the other individual taught me high end and how to deal with the high end clients, how to service them, how to meet them, how to just be their go-to realtor.
For sure.
And that's one thing that if you do want to get to a big price point, or even if you just want to be a successful realtor, find someone, especially if you're earlier in your career, find someone that you can learn from, absorb as much information. Because the problem is people want to start from the bottom and get to the top right away.
Yeah.
It just, there's no point. We're in a career, right? Like I know, and I'm happy to say that in 40 years, I will probably still be doing this. And maybe it'll look a little bit different, and maybe my time in the business will look a little different. But with regards to the work and the effort, I'm still going to be doing it. So I think finding a mentor is going to expedite your career, and it'll allow you a little bit more freedom, because once you get to a point where you understand who you are, your business will take off.
100%. And I think tying into that, I almost say this in every episode, but who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. Like we were talking about the paycheck. You genuinely just have a good heart. So you like helping people. You like seeing the smile on their faces, A house is a big transaction, right?
Of course.
So I feel like having that in you and knowing why you're doing it, you're good to do it in 40 years, right?
Well, that's what it is. Like I want to help generations, right? Like I want to help you. I want to help your kid. I want to help your parents. Like I want to be that person that you just trust. Yeah. And that's why I use say transparency is very important, because they know if I walk into a house and it looks visibly nice, I can tell them if it's not a great house, right? And I'm honest about it. I say, listen, guys, it may look pretty, but there's going to be a can of worms here I don't think you want to explore. Yeah. And I'm only able to say it because I've done it for so long now. Like it's almost been a decade in the industry.
Wow.
So I've seen everything from good to bad. Yeah. So I'm able to kind of give them my honest opinion. And yes, sometimes I'm a little too honest, but people appreciate the honesty more than me saying, it's an amazing house, you should buy it, let's put in an offer today. Like I just want them to buy something that they're very happy. And if they're very happy, they'll be clients for life. And ultimately, if they're referring me for the rest of their life, I'll be okay.
For sure. But I think like even with the transparency and being brutally honest, not everyone likes to hear it, but it's a big purchase you're making. So at the end of the day, you're better off hearing it. You're saving them from walking into a fire. Yep. And then I say everything happens for a reason. So just by you doing that, they may end up seeing a home now that they love even more, that they didn't know was there had you not made that comment.
Yeah, sometimes like there's multiple different buyers, right? I would say the two big buyer group is people that walk into a house right away, like it, buy it. Yep. Done. Then there are the people that walk through the house, they're a bit iffy, they may even like it, but they're worried, right? And that's where transparency comes in. if you've been transparent all along and you've seen 10 places and you've told them like, guys, 8 out of the 10, no good.
Yeah.
Then when you find a house you love and you tell them like, guys, this is the house. I know you love it. This is a house you should buy.
Yeah.
This is why. There's so much more trust.
For sure.
And trust in any business. I don't care if you're selling shoes, you're selling cars, you're selling houses. It doesn't matter. If you build that trust, it goes a long way.
100%. Then you become that connect. And I say now, even as we're getting older, like
Yeah.
your network will get you through life, right? You always want to kind of have that accountant, that lawyer, that realtor, that whoever, your marketing guy, like someone you can go to ask those questions, and you being open about it. Like, maybe I don't want to purchase a house yet, but I know I can ask you a question and you'll answer it, right?
Yeah, then that's something I really pride myself on. Like I know I'm not supposed to say it, but I'm a 24/7 guy, right? You have like, I had a client text me last night at midnight.
Wow.
And if he wanted to know about a house, like, I'm going to reach back out and give him that answer. I do believe that being along the process with the client really makes the difference. And he's not necessarily looking to buy, but, you know, a house came up that he was curious about. I answered him exactly what I thought was right about that house. And, you know, he was very appreciative.
For sure.
So I think that that's what's important. It's just being there, being helpful. And ultimately, the more helpful you are, the more business you're going to do.
100%. And how important is it to spend time even before you start the searching process for the client, but understanding their lifestyle and what they want? Because I feel like realtors will ask the main questions like, so what are you looking for? Oh, you have kids in your family. But is there any questions you ask that are maybe deeper than the basics that really help you figure out the best spot for the client?
Yeah, I'm not that realtor that kind of asks you like, okay, do you need 3 beds, 4 beds? Like, do you need an extra bathroom? Like, those are questions I ask, right? Because ultimately the questions I ask get me to the answers that I need.
Right.
So the questions I ask is, you know, where do you work? Do you want to be close to work? Is that a priority? Do you have a kid? If you have a kid, what school does your kid go to? Do you want to keep them in that school? So those are the kind of, I ask more, like you said, lifestyle questions, because it gets me the answers. If I know you have one kid, right, and they go to school, let's just say in Forest Hill, they go to UCC, which is Upper Canada College. If they go there, then I know, okay, you probably want to be somewhere around Forest Hill, maybe South Hill, maybe Deer Park. So I know that that's that. Then I say, okay, what's your budget? Because budget's important.
For sure.
They tell me their budget's $7 million. So I know, okay, so they go to UCC, he works downtown, she works downtown. They probably want to stay in Forest Hill because it's close to transit. It's also in an area walkable to school. So I know that's the house, that's the area. Now for bed and bath, very simple. It's they have one kid.
Right.
So I know they're probably looking at a 4 to 5 bedroom.
Right.
And not because they only have one kid, but because there's probably going to be one on the way. Right. And if you're looking in Forest Hill up to 7 million, you're not going to get a 3 bedroom. You're going to get a 4 plus.
Right.
So I know that that's where their sweet spot is. And then I can start sending them listings. And this is where it gets important for especially agents out there. When you send them listings, don't say, let's go see it right away. Ask for feedback. Get to know their taste. They can say, you know, Dorian, it's too modern for me. I want more of a traditional setup. Then you can adjust your search and then start sending them product that they actually like. Then you can go see them. But ultimately, you have to understand what they like so you're not wasting time going to see a million different things when it's really simple what they're actually looking for.
Right. And like you said, that saves a lot of time. That's efficiency and effectiveness.
100%.
And anything you do in life, you can achieve those two.
Yep.
You're good, right? You're balling.
Well, that's what it is. Like, I try to make, I know a lot of my clients are very busy business people, right? And some of them are doctors that are, obviously they're very busy. So I want to make it as efficient as possible. Time for them is very valuable. Right. And especially if they have a young family, like they want to spend time with their family.
100%.
Right? Especially after working long days, you want to come home, spend time with the wife, spend time with your husband, spend time with the kids. So I know instead of seeing a million places, let's really refine our search. So when we find that place, we can just go see it. And it's actually a serious showing, not just a time waster.
100%. And that's also where I think people see it as well. If I'm hiring you as a realtor, that's the time you're putting in to figure out what I really want. So we're not going to 20 different places. You bring me to, let's say, 5 or 3, and I'm like, he nailed it. Okay, I'm going to make my decision, right?
And that's what it is. Like, I have a very high success rate with buyers because I don't waste their time with seeing 1,000 places. I like to say, guys, let's go through it. Let's hop on a call. Let's go through listings together. Let's see what you like, what you dislike. Do you like the layout? Do you hate the finishes? And then I can really fine tune it. Then when we're seeing places, they've already in their mind seen 50 places,
Right.
but really we haven't. Now we're seeing 3 places in person, but these are 3 highly qualified places.
Right.
So that makes a difference.
And then to tie into that, because I look at it even from the marketing standpoint,
Yes.
how important is it to actually have the content to put out for your listings? Because I feel like nowadays there's a lot of realtors that know they need to have it. They don't really want to spend the money on it. So they'll do like the basic and then they'll realize, oh, I should have done a video or I should have done a walkthrough or something of the nature. But it's like, no, let's just go with like the cheapest photos just to get it up.
Yeah.
Do you find it makes a difference with your listings?
To me, it does.
Okay.
I think people search online way before they go look at houses, but I'm also very selective, right? Like everything I do is with a purpose.
Right.
So when I'm putting out pictures, I'm not putting out all 40 my photographer sends. I'm putting out 15 maybe, 15 of shots that highlight the house. I want to leave a little bit of mystery. What's going to drive you to the house? You want to see what else there is, right? Obviously, you provide the floor plans. If it's a house, you provide the survey. If it's and obviously for a condo, you provide the floor plans as well. But you want to make sure you're leaving some mystery.
Yeah.
But the marketing has to be top notch. You have to blast it out to everyone. A video walkthrough shows a lifestyle. I really love that. Like if I was personally going to look at a home, first thing I want to know is what kind of lifestyle am I going to have here? Like, am I in Yorkville because I want to go shopping? Do I want to be close to restaurants? Am I downtown because I want to be close to the office? Like, these are things that you really see through a video, but it also paints you a good picture of the house. Like, if I see a nice video walkthrough, I can see the layout right on there.
Right.
And it helps or eliminates the house based on that.
Yeah.
So the more content you put out there that's strong and selective, the better the listing's going to go.
So then I would say that will also tie into social media because you still push social media, but I feel like especially when you started, you were pushing. And like how important was that for you as your upcoming, like as a successful realtor, like to leverage it?
Yeah, when I first started, I was like heavily on social media.
But I mean, it made people, not to cut you off, sorry, but
Yeah,
like
no problem.
even just as someone watching it, it really made me understand the work you put it. You would post your like behind the scenes and how late you were up and cold calling and all these things. And I think if I had to buy a house at that time, I'm trusting you because I'm seeing that BTS of what you're doing, that work you're putting in. And that's where my trust is coming from. You're not just posting your success. I'm seeing your hard work. You were bodybuilding at the time.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Like, right?
It doesn't look like it, but I was.
You were like crushing it and you were doing a lot. And I think that's so important, right? To show that.
You know, there's always a transition period. Remember how you were saying, you know, you were the hockey player,
Right.
right? So at the time, I was the student,
Right.
right? When I was the business student.
Yeah.
So you have to reframe people's minds to make you understand that now you are the realtor, right? So the first 5 years of my career, I was heavily focused on that, right? I wanted to put out everything. Now, you know, I'm a little bit more selective with what I put out because people know I just work all day. It's what I do. So it's less of me showing people, but they just know I'm doing it, right? So even with my solds, like I don't put a lot of my solds on Instagram anymore,
Yeah.
right? I feel like it's become a thing that, like when I was starting at the initial part of my career, not a lot of realtors were doing what I was doing in that
100%.
regard. There was a select few, but there wasn't a lot. Now everyone's doing it. So it's become such a saturated place. So I've pivoted, right? I've pivoted to showing more of a lifestyle-driven success, lifestyle-driven real estate, because I want to resonate more with people and less about them just hiring me just because they think I'm up 24/7.
For sure.
So they already know I work hard, but now if they love the lifestyle, maybe that's what's driving them to hire me,
100%.
right? And obviously I lead with knowledge first, and they know once they have a conversation with me, it's all business, right? Like I work all day, every day, and I'm making sure I'm taking care of as many clients as possible. So social media is a great helper for me, but now it's just pivoted. So I may not be as active, but it's intentionally not as active as I was before.
For sure. And I think even when you say lifestyle, that comes down to your hobbies and your interests. How important is it? Because you do showcase, you love golf, you love art, you love wine.
Yeah.
So like you could see how that does fall into the category of the clients you help. Have you made deeper connections because they see those are your hobbies and you have that mutual interest?
Yeah, like when I connect with someone on social, and let's say, you know, they've been following me for a couple of years. They see I love the golf, the art, the wine, the fashion, like I love all that stuff. So they see that. So right away, you're building rapport. Then they see, obviously I sell houses. Okay. So if they're looking for a house, you're actually leading with a friendship and not just a business transaction, right? I try to make every client a client for life. I don't want to lose them, right? So I'm building such a strong bond with them that I don't feel necessarily that they come to me just for the real estate anymore, right? And of course, I want to be that go-to realtor for everyone, but realistically, people go shopping with friends.
For sure.
It's that simple.
For sure.
They hire people that they trust, that they like, that they want to spend time with. Because when you're buying and or selling, you're spending a lot of time with that realtor. You're hopping on a lot of phone calls. You're going for dinners, you're going for drinks. If you don't like the person you're doing that with, you probably won't hire them. So I believe that aspect of my business is something I'm very proud of. And I'm trying to do things different, right? So initially I was different because I was showing everything, posting everything. And now I think I'm doing things differently because I'm showing more of the lifestyle and more of the wow factor of the real estate. And hopefully that resonates with people.
It definitely does. And you do it also in such a genuine way where you're not just posting wine, art, golf, fashion because you know that's who it's going to attract. It's actually you. So by you being transparent about that online transparency, that's when people feel connected. It's not like, oh, this expensive bottle of wine, I'm going to post it. Now this guy's going to see, I'm going to post it. Like, no, you're drinking it. If I ask you about it, I'm sure you can tell me about it. So that makes a big difference too, right?
100%. And I'm also not shy of showing my personal life, right? Like I do show my goddaughter.
She's so cute.
Oh, she's honestly rock star. And her father is one of my best friends. So, they're a wonderful family and I show them, right? And he's a realtor too. And that's just, to me, it's just really important to show the people that are important to me. And, I don't like getting too personal on social media.
Right.
I do like a little bit of my privacy.
For sure.
But there are important people in my life and I'd be doing a disservice to myself and everyone else who knows me by not posting them and not showing how much they mean to me. So to me, that's a really important part that a lot of people forget. A lot of realtors like to just put out houses and walkthroughs and, that's wonderful and, all the power to you. But being a human being is important. And in a life that we're in and the lifestyle that we have where AI's become such a prominent thing, you don't want to deal with a robot. You want to deal with a human being, right? Human beings have feelings, have emotions. And yes, I like to say when I'm in business, it's not emotional, but I truly, truly care about the people I'm working with and I want the best for them. And if I didn't want the best for them, I just wouldn't be in this business. I would take a corporate job, do what I have to do on Bay Street and just focus on the numbers, focus on the work and go home. But it's such a passion to me to help people. Like, I still think about your father. Like your father's—
You loved him.
I
told him today, I'm like, Dorian's coming on the pod. He's like, I miss that guy. He's like, he loved me.
Loved him. Big golfer, dressed extremely well. Such a nice man. Like that's a memory that when I was a kid, I was looking, he was obviously older than I was. So I was looking at him and I was like, that's just a wonderful man. And the impression he left on me is the impression that I want to leave on people. And obviously it's going to be different where, if you're older and you're working with me, I do want to leave an impression. It's going to be a little bit different because obviously you're a little bit older than me. But I want you to remember me and be like, you know what, Dorian, what a wonderful man. Like honest, blunt, and really wanted the best for me. And that's the impression that I want to lead with.
For sure. And I think even just to touch on you showing, your relationship or your goddaughter, it shows the kind of man you are too, right? You're always a family person. And I think that is important for people to know, especially if they have a family. Like obviously everyone has different interests and I get that, but you being someone that cares a lot for those around you will directly reflect how you care for your clients.
I agree. Like it's, you know how they say the 5 people you hang out with the most is truly how successful you're going to become. But I think about that as clients as well. If you surround yourself with clients that are genuinely good people and you want the best for them, you're going to have great relationships. If you're only in it for the money, I'm sorry, this is just the wrong business, 100%. Right? Like, yeah, you'll do one transaction, but then they'll never want to use you again. And how good does that feel when you see your client list their house with someone else? So, the better person you are, the people you surround yourself with and you care about, the more successful you'll be.
And in that nurturing of your clients, because I feel like you do have long-lasting clients that do stay with you, what are some things you do that differentiates you but makes you go above and beyond? Because I really feel like that's also what makes you stand out as a realtor. You're always going that extra mile in places that people won't.
I just keep in touch, honestly. I think the biggest problem with real estate in general and salespeople and just in general, they don't keep in touch, right? Like I keep in touch with all my clients. Like one of my clients his daughter had a birthday. I called them. Hey, wish your daughter a happy birthday for me, right? The other day I sent them, a little basket. So it's just keeping in touch, being a human, right? Like if it's his birthday, like call him. Well, don't send him an email saying, hey man, happy birthday. Like that's just the wrong way to do it, right? You just pick up the phone and be like, I hope you're doing amazing. Happy birthday. You have anything planned? Do you want out for dinner with the family? And the odd time, if they're going to a restaurant that I happen to have a connection at, I'll call them, the company or the restaurant ahead of time and say, send them a bottle of wine. Right? It's just those small things that go such a long way.
For sure.
But it's the only way to become successful and to really, truly connect with people. Because that's the difference. Like you said, it's all about connections. So
what's one thing you think that people that aren't in real estate may get wrong about real estate and realtors? Like I may have an assumption about real estate that's completely wrong.
I'm sure you do. Everyone does.
That's what I'm saying. But what's one common one you kind of hear that you could squash?
Yeah, there's a lot of honest realtors out there. Okay.
There you go.
I don't want you to think we're sleazy. I'm going to use this term because everyone uses it. Used car salesman. We're not. Okay. Yes, there are those cases in the industry, but truly they're bad lawyers. They're not great doctors. So there's a lot of that in any industry. There are truly salespeople in real estate that are wonderful human beings. And there's a lot of colleagues that I highly respect and love. So I want people to really look at realtors a little different. Like, yes, they're the bad apples, but it's in every industry, right? But there are some amazing people that truly want the best for you, and they'll do everything they can to make sure you're happy.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was going to say that's the most common one.
I know.
That always is. Have you ever had a client approach you kind of already with that attitude and you had to like squash it in that transaction?
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right? The good thing is now I've built a rapport and, a reputation where even my colleagues respect that I'm very honest and I'm hardworking. But of course, if I'm meeting a random person, like the truth is this: do I love saying I'm a real estate broker? Not really, because I already know how they're looking at me. But the difference is when I do it, I'm very genuine, right? I care. So they may have that assumption at the start, but once they start to see who I am and how I communicate with them, it really, really changes. I'm not just trying to sell you anything for the money, right? I want to find you what's perfect for you. And everyone's perfect is very different. So you have to know your client and understand what makes them happy. So, just everyone stop looking at realtors as used car salesmen. We truly, there are people that truly want to help you and make you make a right financial decision.
For sure. And I think a big thing with that too is energy doesn't lie. And I don't care how intuitive you are, if you aren't. If I have a conversation with you, I can immediately pick up in 5 seconds if you're genuine or you're coming at me with the paycheck. We're gonna go get the first house we see. So I think that's big on you for even pushing through. I feel like some people have a defensive mechanism. So if someone comes at them with an attitude, it's like, well, then they get pissy. Oh, he thinks I'm this. He thinks I'm that.
I just laugh and say, listen, I get it. I do get it. There are a lot of realtors that I would personally never hire in a million years.
For sure.
But then there are realtors like some of my colleagues that, if I wasn't a realtor, absolutely would I hire them.
Yeah.
I would trust them with my keys to my house, me not in in town, no problem, because they're trusting people.
For sure.
Right? So it's even some doctors. Like I've walked into some doctors' offices where I'm just like,
true.
Okay. He just wants to give me meds, get me out of here and move on. Like I'm looking for experience. Everything I do is for experience, right? I want to make sure that I'm getting such exceptional service that it leaves such an impression that I have to recommend. Right? Like, for example, this podcast. This has been one of the best podcasts that I've been on.
Really?
So it's leaving such a good impression on me. So if someone, let's say you reach out to someone I know and they say, Dorian, like, what do you think? Should I do it? I'm going to say absolutely. Right? Because you're providing such an amazing service that how can I not refer you? And that's how I want my clients to feel.
For sure. And so what's to tie into that? What's something you can tell maybe a potential buyer to look for in a real estate agent to help them with that process of like, I can trust this guy?
I really, it's hard to say, right?
Everyone's different.
It's really something you just have to feel. But I would say if there's an agent that just reaches out cold and says, let's go see this house, you have to buy, but you have no rapport with them, probably just trying to sell you. If you have an agent that's calling you and say, oh, I'll drop my commission to 0.5%, 1%, probably don't want to hire them because you're transaction based. You pay for what you get.
Yeah.
It's really simple. Like if I'm selling my house, I don't mind paying out extra commission knowing that I'm getting the service.
Right.
Right. Like if I want to hire the best, you're going to pay the best.
100%.
Right. Like I know a couple of agents, and one specifically, an amazing agent. Like when I tell you incredible, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
And she only charges 5%.
Wow.
2.5 and 2.5.
Yeah. Wow.
And she deserves every dollar. She works extremely hard. She's very kind. She follows up. She gets you the results you need. And that's someone you got to trust. So I would say it's about the initial conversations. If they're just trying to throw you on a BRA or a listing agreement right away without actually getting to know you, probably not the agent for you. And now listen, there's the odd case where, I have a listing and a realtor.ca lead comes in and they want to see a place. Now that's very different, because it's a transaction on the residence that I'm trying to sell for my sellers.
Right.
But I make it very clear, my fiduciary duties to my sellers.
Right.
I want to make sure my sellers are taken care of. I will help you, but it won't be, it won't be a client relationship. It'll be a customer service relationship. And now the terms are a little bit different.
Right.
But essentially, you tell me the price, I will present it to my client because I really believe in representing clients. And if I'm going to do it, I want to do it properly. So it's just being transparent.
For sure.
Just be honest with them, with the relationships you have.
Yeah. And I think even like, we were talking about, okay, show me your 5 closest friends, show you your future, net worth, all the terms. Yep. That client relationship, they could look at you the same thing. You're a representation of them. So now they just met you. So how fast can they trust you? Because now you basically have to embody almost what they embody, which goes to your lifestyle. So it's like, if I have the same lifestyle as you and I hire you, I'm already confident that like you get me. Like I'll explain things to you, but you already understand. And I think that also just comes with like your history of success in selling, right? So question for you, I know this answer, but I want you to answer it. What's your net sales you've done over your career?
Just around 500 million. So So I had a business partner before.
Yeah.
We did a lot of real estate together.
He's hustled.
He's a wonderful man. We've done well. I'm very happy with the number. I mean, ultimately the number is the number.
Yeah.
But I just, there's a lot of families we've helped in that number. Sure. So that's what I take pride in.
So how do you now, obviously achieving like such a big number, growing as you've grown, how have you stayed so humble and driven as your success has grown?
We wake up every day unemployed, right? Like, yes, you may have listings, you may have clients, buyers you're working with, but ultimately you're unemployed, right? So every day you got to go hustle. And yes, if you have a listing, you do have a job for that house. That house sells, you're back to unemployed, right? So every day I wake up hungry, saying, let's go get it. Let's go find a new buyer. Let's find a listing that a person we can help, a seller. So that's just the mindset I have. My mindset's very simple. Wake up, work hard, do the work will take care of you.
For sure.
Very, very simple. And knowing that every day I don't get paid just because, listen, in our job, it's commission-based. Right. I don't have a corporate job. Right. So, the harder I work, the more successful I will be. And success is different to everyone. I really want to make sure I put this out there. Just because you think someone's making millions of dollars doesn't mean that they're happy, right? Like I know a lot of people that make somewhere between around $100,000 a year that are super, super happy. And yes, do they live in the city? No. But does that matter? Right? Everyone's lifestyle is different. Like if you love to fish, you like to be outdoors, like, yeah, the city's probably not for you, right? But they're super happy. And I think that's the key, right? Everyone has a happiness in them. You just have to find what it is. And to me, your income doesn't mean happiness because, I'm sure there's a lot of billionaires that may be extremely successful on paper, but internally, they're not that happy. So I don't want people to look at a number as happiness. I want them to look at how you feel, right? And sure, if $500,000 makes you happy a year, then great. Yeah. Then that's all the power to you, right? But if you make $100,000 and that makes you happy, well, guess what? You should be proud of yourself, right? So any money you make to put food on your table, a roof over your head, should make you very happy. And especially if you have a family, family comes first, right? Yeah. So if you're providing those, you know, the bare necessities for them, but at least you're surviving and you're giving the best that you can give, you should be a happy person.
100%. And that's also operating from a place of gratitude as well. Has your definition of success changed as you've grown up and like as you've reached different milestones of like sales, let's say?
100%. Like, you know, when I was younger, success was the Range Rover, the Rolex, the nice suits. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And the traveling, right? That was success to me. I'm like, you've made it, right?
Got it.
But now that I have those, like the things that I really want and that I've worked towards, success is really different. Meeting a partner and being in a relationship and getting married, that obviously has changed my perspective a lot. It's not about me anymore, right? Like, it's really not. It's about taking care of her. It's about taking care of our future kids. It's about providing the best lifestyle possible for them, and making sure that they have exactly what they need. And, you know, it's really shifted my energy, right? I understand things a little bit differently now. And sure, do I love the nice suits? Of course. Do I really want the extra watch? Yeah, I do. But my core values have really changed, right? Like, I value my partner. I value the fact that, you know, we're going to have kids, you know, God willing, sooner than later. And if that were to happen, then I'd be blessed. And obviously at that point, my life will change again, right? The priorities will change. But I just want to make sure that they're set up, right? And that they can go live freely. And if they want to go on a vacation and I got to work, amazing. They can go do that, right? So things change. You know, when you're younger, it's all about the flash and and, you know, trying to fit in and trying to fit the mold of success. But really, there's a gentleman. He used to be, I believe, the CEO of Netflix.
Okay.
And he'd have a standing date with his wife I think it was Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 5:00.
Wow.
He'd be out of the office at 4 p.m. and it didn't matter if it was the most important thing in the world. If it's after 4 p.m., he's with the wife.
Yeah.
And he's happily married still, and he's extremely wealthy. And that just shows that you have to have priorities. 100%. And values change, right? If you want to be the most successful entrepreneur, you can do that. Yeah. But you could also be a wonderful fiance, husband, wife. You could be a wonderful anything you want to be, but you have to put in the time.
And I think that even comes down to balancing your time, right? So like a gentleman like that, he found a way to balance his personal life and his work life. He put that hard cutoff in 5:00. We're having that date. But he stuck to it. Some people do it and they'll be like, I'm doing the balance. All of a sudden something pressing comes up. Okay, can we shift it? Can we do it tomorrow? And it's like, well, if you're on the receiving end, it's obviously, okay, I'll understand. But at the same time, it's like, so are you prioritizing this? And once you, I think, prioritize your relationship when you're in one, you need a good partner. And if you have a partner, like I think, I've heard that's the most important decision you'll ever make in your life and will only push you to be even more successful because now you're achieving success together.
You know what the funny thing is? Like, I don't necessarily believe in balance.
Okay.
I think balance is a myth. Okay. I truly, now I say that, you know, with air quotes, right? The reason I say that is because if you want to be successful in anything, you have to put in the time.
True.
Like when I first started and even now, like I don't consider what I have balance.
Right.
I may do things for myself, but I'm spending a lot more time working than doing things for myself.
Right.
Right. So I believe if you want to be successful, it's all about time. Time in the business, time putting in that effort to whatever. Like if I want to become a professional golfer, very simple, put in the time.
100%.
If I'm swinging a golf club every day, 7 days a week, you're probably going to be very successful. Now, of course, you have to have natural abilities and all that kind of stuff, but it's the time in and the reps that you put in that make a big difference, right? So balance is a hard word to say because I'm sure if you ask any successful entrepreneur, I'm sure they'd love to go, you know, let's say they love golf. I'm sure they'd love to golf more. Right? But they don't. I'm sure they'd love to have an extra date night with the wife, but I'm sure they don't because maybe they have a client dinner, right? So balance is a hard thing to find. I think you have to find what works for you and your partner. Like I'm very fortunate. My partner understands that I love work and I work a lot. And also she grew up in a family where her father's works extremely hard. Great role model for her and for me, to be completely honest with you. And I've also been fortunate too. Like my father and my mother, they work very, very hard and they still do. So I've always seen that hard work is really, really important. But the one thing I will say, and this brings me back to my childhood, my father never missed a single hockey game and barely missed a practice. So although he worked extremely hard, he was there for everything. right? And even my mother, my sister played soccer with you.
Yeah.
That woman didn't miss a game.
Facts.
She had work. Guess what? She would go start a little bit earlier or work later another day to make sure she was there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
She found her balance, right? But her balance on paper wasn't considered balance, but for her it was. And I think everyone has to realize that everyone has a different balance. And if you find a balance that makes you happy and it works for you and your partner, then you're doing something right.
Yeah. That's honestly very interesting. Like, no one's ever brought that perspective up to me. So, like, I'm processing that as you're saying it. I'm like, all right. No, but it's that's very true. It's almost like success. I think as you get older, you realize, as we were speaking, success is not so much defined forever. It'll shift. Same thing with balance. Now I'm learning because it's true. Like, every situation is different. Every partnership is different. Every job in a partnership is different. Maybe what you do, what I do, it requires different amount of effort. So the balance that's yours versus the balance that's mine will be different. But as long as it works for you, it works.
I mean, I used to be the literal king of going to dinner every night with clients. Every single night.
Wow.
But now I get home, I want to spend time with the future wife.
For sure.
Like, I want to hang out with her.
Yeah.
Like, even if we're watching TV, like, I want to spend time with her.
Yeah.
Right? That's a huge priority to me. And of course, you're going to have dinners that come up with clients or potential clients. And that's, you go to it and the wife completely understands that.
Of course.
But it's different. Like, before I valued being out there and meeting new people. Now I really value spending time with my partner, right? Work very hard, wake up early, work very hard during the day. Yeah. But those hours at night, to me, it's like peace.
For sure.
Right? And we're so busy as entrepreneurs that, you know, your emotions and you are being dragged in so many different places that when you can come home and just drop all the walls and just be there, even if you're sitting silent with your partner, it's incredible. 100%. It's a beautiful thing. So I really value that. This is why you're absolutely right. Values, priorities, everything changes. You just have to go along with it.
Yeah. And I think even like to touch on, you know, your dad being at all your games and like your mom, my parents were the same. Like my mom, and I spoke about this recently, I didn't realize it till I got older, but the appreciation I have for her showing up to every single soccer game really struck me when I went to university and I played, because now your games are further. I'm in Ottawa, I'm here, I'm there. And it's weird, like you look to the stand, she's not there. I'm like, shit, like she's a good mom. Like she came to every game. And now that's something I would want to instill. I think you're in that same boat where it's like you've been shown, you know, great parenting, and now you'll take what you really liked, obviously, from what they did, and you'll try to instill that in your family. Yeah,
everyone's different, right? Like everyone's evolving. Like I'm a mix between my parents.
100%.
Right? So at the end of the day, I'm going to have my own style of parenting, I'm assuming. I'll probably get a lot of help. My partner's going to be a rock star, that's for sure. She's very loving, very caring. So I'm very fortunate I found a partner with that much love to give.
For sure.
So that'll make my life a lot easier because then I can focus a little bit more on my work and making sure that they're taken care of in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? In my opinion, in a relationship, it's a 50-50 split.
100%.
Right? Like if one person's bringing financials, one person's bringing in emotion, they're equally as important. One's not more important than the other. You may have money, but if you have no emotional love and support, you're not successful. Sorry, I don't care what anyone says, that you're just not successful. And you may not have a lot of money, but you have all the love and support. You're going to find some struggles along the way, but it's finding a balance that works for you, right? And like I said, balance is different for everyone. And this is why I never say balance is a word to use, because like what you need and what I need are probably very different things,
100%.
right? So you just have to find what works for you. And it's the same thing in real estate. And it kind of ties in the whole podcast where everyone has to do what works for you, right? Everyone's plan is different. The way, maybe I can wake up at 5 a.m., but you have to wake up at 9 a.m. But guess what? Who cares?
Yep.
If you're doing the same amount of hours of work, you're doing the same amount of hours. It's about the attention to detail when you're working than it is the number of hours you put in.
100%. That's a big point because I can't get up early. I will if I have to, but I'd rather get up at like 8 or 9. But I'll grind. Like I can work late night. If I can work late night, I'm good. Like I'm up, I'm not tired. But then there's other people that can get up 4 or 5, go to the gym, crush their day out, and they want to be in bed earlier. And I had this conversation recently with someone. I'm like, both are successful. There's not a right way or a wrong way. No. People, if you're not getting up at 6 or 5, you're not successful. Not true. Because if, like you said, if I can clock the same amount of time and hours as you, what does it matter? Like, we just live different lifestyles. Each body's different. Each needs are different. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Where it becomes, iffy is when, that person who wakes up really early works harder for a longer period of time.
Yeah, then you're like, okay, I'm outbeat now.
Then you're just outbeat. And that's kind of my motto.
Yeah.
If I can outwork you,
yeah,
I will become successful.
100%.
Right? That's just kind of how I look at things. And ultimately, everyone does things differently. So if waking up a little bit later works for you and you put in the hours and then you're working later in the day, it's all the same.
100%. But I think that's a really good point too, right? Because in any business, you obviously have competitors, like the people you're going against that are in the same industry. So it's like, now with social media, you're kind of privy to understanding everyone's life and what they do. And a big, big key we've been speaking about this whole time is differentiation. Yep. So how do you differentiate yourself? What do you do to stand out? So that ties into even something as simple as getting up early, putting in more work than them, right? I want to tie quickly into like your hobbies. Okay, golf.
Oh God.
Next Tiger Woods over here.
I love it. I love it.
So I just had a podcast. My last one was with a close friend of mine. He actually starting to start his own golf tournament. In Ontario. It's really cool. But a discussion we had was how golf can be leveraged for business. And I put a post up the other day on my story saying, like, all the golfers, like, do you leverage it for business? And I got mixed responses. Some were like, no, like, I can't, or I don't, I go to the same course all the time. I have a membership there. Well, I'm not really meeting new people. I'm always golfing with the same people. And I'm like, I get that. But my discussion with my past guest was, you're spending 4 hours on a course with somebody. You learn a lot about them. Do they have temper tantrums? Can they handle defeat? If they're struggling that day, like how they go about the game, it's so intricate to their personality. You'll understand them more. Do you leverage golf for business?
Intentionally, not really.
Right.
But ultimately, it gets me clients.
Yeah.
And I foster relationships based on that way.
Yeah.
But, for me, golf is like, it releases me from work.
Yeah.
So it's my peace and quiet.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the game. But honestly, I do bring clients out.
Yeah.
But technically they turn into friends, right? So
100%.
it's kind of weird. Like it's not, I'm not talking business the whole time. Like they don't want to hear it, right? If they have questions, I'll answer them. Cool.
For sure.
But I just want to talk like just normal friends, right? And yes, I'm a member of a golf course. So I meet a lot of people there. So in turn, it does help me get clients.
For sure.
So I guess to answer your question, yes, I do leverage golf for business. But it's different. Like I'm not doing it solely for business. I'm doing it for myself. And if I have someone who has, if I meet someone who happens to like the same interests, then great, we'll do business together.
For sure.
But I don't necessarily want to just say I spent all day golfing just because of that.
Right.
I genuinely just have a love for it.
Yeah. Which obviously is different. And I think too, even growing up, like honestly, when I was younger, I'm like, how do people play golf? I fall asleep if I watch golf, soccer, high intense, go. Now I'm getting older. I'm like, I still play. I'm like, I get knocked. I'm like bruised, whatever. So then I took up golf last year. I'm like, I love this. The tranquility and the peacefulness of just being on that course. I don't think people will understand unless they're there.
Well, I mean, I'm hyper competitive. So
that's fair too. That's fair too.
You might be asking the wrong guy. So like it's
well, it's cool because it's against you too, right? Like you're against others if you're with them. But if you, let's say, golf around by yourself, you're going to always try to beat your previous score, right?
Yeah, I you know what? It's a good lesson.
Yeah.
Like I've gotten a lot calmer over the years.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a lot more relaxed. Not on the golf course. I'm still pretty wiry on the golf course. I'm sure if anyone's watching it and they've played golf with me, I do get a little wiry. But listen, it's such a beautiful thing. You're with friends, you're outside, you're having drinks, having cigars. Like, can you really complain? Like, I'm not pro. There's no paycheck at the end of the round. So let me just enjoy the company. And if we do business together, amazing. Yeah. We don't, say la vie. We had a beautiful round.
100%.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then another question I have for you, because I think I heard you say this on another podcast or an interview. I don't know. It was somewhere on socials. But you love collecting watches, right?
Love.
So I think you had mentioned this, I could be wrong, but you said something about like a big reason you like doing it is because it's generational. So you can eventually leave it off to your kids, so on and so forth. My dad's a watch guy, so I get it. Like ever since I was young, he was like, you graduate university, I'm getting you a watch. Done. Graduate university, he did it. And for me, I'm big on that value. So do you see, like obviously you see the importance in that, that's a striving factor why you do it?
Yeah, I love watches in general. I think they're beautiful. I think they're a great conversation piece.
Yeah.
I do believe that it's great to have for the future kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
No.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter if you collect things, if you don't.
Yeah.
They're just things at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I just value watches because, my father is a big watch guy. It's something that I grew up loving and understanding. But now as I'm getting older, I'm having a fonder appreciation of them because of how they're made and, some of the technical features of them. So things change as you get older and you collect them for different reasons.
Right.
But ultimately, knowing you can leave them to your family is a beautiful thing. And in the interim, enjoy them, wear them.
For sure.
I'm not that guy that buys a nice watch and just
Leaves it.
keeps them in the safety deposit box.
Yeah.
Like, why? There's no point. You have them, enjoy them, wear them. And I think that's what's important is just being you.
For sure. Favorite watch brand?
Patek.
I agree. I 1000% agree. I'm so happy you said that.
Patek.
Great.
Like I love Rolex, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But Patek is just another level,
100%.
in my opinion.
100%.
It's just when you see someone with a Patek, you're like
all right, man.
beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that. I was wondering. I'm like, what's his favorite watch brand?
No, it's always like Patek's just amazing.
All right.
There's beauty in a lot of watches, but like Patek and Rolex are my go-tos by far.
Yeah.
There's just something about them.
All right. And then another question, if you could pick anywhere in the world, obviously being in real estate, like where would you want to live? Where's your ideal place?
Is it just to live or it's to sell?
Live.
Just to live.
You and your family.
Honestly, so I'm going to give 2 places.
Hit me with it.
First one, Paris.
All right. Love Paris.
Obsessed with Paris. I think it's the most beautiful city. And people that haven't been to Paris, you don't understand it yet. When you go to Paris, there's a feeling you get on the inside. I don't know what it is. It might be all the cigarette smoke and the wine that you're taking in, but it's incredible. Like it's such a beautiful place. And then the second place, a vacation home, would be the Caribbean. It would be like the Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's. Yeah. It's just incredible to have a place there. So both places offer different things. Yeah. But I just love Paris. I've always loved Paris.
I agree. I agree with you. It's a feeling, and you don't know unless you go.
Exactly.
People ask you and be like, "It's amazing. Why?" I could tell you. Just go though.
Like the food's not incredible.
No,
I don't love the food whatsoever.
I'll go to Italy all day for food. If I need food. But
I was in Italy this past summer.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Nice place, right? Is it my favorite European place? No. Paris has the fashion, the beauty. People walk around. It looks like they're on a runway all day.
That's facts.
It's just like a different level for me, it feels like it's a different level of class.
Yeah.
And that's what I love.
Yeah.
That's
I feel like it aligns with your lifestyle too.
It does. And I just really enjoy the fact that, one, I love Europe.
Yeah.
Europe is my favorite place on earth. I like the fact that when you're there, you're living.
Yeah.
Work is just...
You enjoy life.
You enjoy life, right? And I think that's something in North America we don't have. And I get it. Like it's just a different world. Like we have to work hard. You have to make money to live, and you have to make money to put food on the table. But in Europe, it's just so different. Yeah. And to live there, and if you have the means to live there when you're older and you retire there, then if you could do it, do it. It'll probably keep you younger.
Yeah, for sure. Final question for you.
Okay.
What's one advice you'd give to your younger self, younger Dorian?
Younger. That's a great younger Dorian. He was a funny guy. The one advice I'd probably give is just, don't worry about where you are now.
Like that.
It'll be fine. Just keep working hard. Put your head down. Don't look around, because looking around makes zero difference in your life. Bury your head. Do the work, and the work will take care of you.
I like that. Well, it brings us to the end. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This is honestly, guys, she's wonderful. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. I appreciate the compliment as well. Guys, you know the drill. Subscribe, like, share, do your thing. If you want to be on the pod, reach out. Any real estate questions, you hear the man himself. You can reach out to him. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer all of it. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.